So a note, this sermon is slightly edited from the sermon originally delivered at UUI on September 13th. And I want to thank my Mid-America colleagues, particularly the Reverend Anastasia Zinke, for some helpful feedback, including a reminder about the role of the thread in the original story of the Minotaur. I also want to give thanks to some longtime members at UUI for cleaning up a factual error I made about the history of the church. So this Sunday, the Sunday after Labor Day, marks the start of the new church year here at UUI. Welcome to the 2020-2021 church year. For those unfamiliar with the rhythm of Unitarian Universalist church life, and of course, every UU church has a slightly different rhythm, the congregational year runs from September to May, culminating in the big May meeting of the entire congregation, where we come together to vote on a new budget, elect a board, and make decisions about priorities. Then, summer is a bit of a downtime as far as programming goes. During the summer, the new Board of Trustees begins to meet and decide on its priorities for the year. The staff uses the downtime for reflection and study and to plan out the new year. And the congregation has its own summer journeys, which sometimes take members away from church. Summer church attendance tends to be a little lower, reflecting vacations, family travel, sports and summer camps, hikes and picnics. Once upon a time, many UU churches, including UUI back in its first years, would even close for the summer to accommodate this summer wanderlust on the part of the congregation. September, then, is traditionally a time of reconnection for the congregation. It marks the beginning of a journey through the new church year. And to me, this is always an exciting time because a congregation is never a static thing. The mix of people and opportunities is always different, always changing. What new things will we accomplish this year? What will we build and create together? What new relationships will be formed? What will we learn about ourselves and the world? What unexpected challenges will we face, and are we ready to face them? And of course, the guiding question, how will we as a congregation bring the vision of Unitarian Universalism into the world? Every year is different, with different challenges and opportunities. Every year is its own journey. And yet, I feel comfortable saying that this year may be a year like no other we've had at UUI. This may be one of those years, the 2020 to 2021 church year, where we look back 10, 15, 20 years from now and go, remember that year? Oh yeah, that year. Has there been a year when we have all collectively journeyed into as many unknowns as individuals, as a community, as a church? How do we think about this year? How do we get our heads around it? How do we get our hearts around it? How do we approach this year spiritually, religiously, as Unitarian Universalists? How do we move through this year? And the image I kept coming back to as I reflected on this was the Labyrinth. Our Labyrinth, the one located behind the cottage on our campus. Did you know that our Labyrinth is a destination spot in the neighborhood, in the community? It's true. People will drive from other places to our church and park in our lot just so they can walk our Labyrinth. Our Labyrinth is listed on various labyrinth guides to the Midwest and on the worldwide Labyrinth locator, where it is noted as being 48 feet in diameter with 7 circuits and wheelchair accessible. It is a special thing that we have here on our campus. I did a little bit of research on the history of our Labyrinth. It was built in 2004 and seems to have been the original idea of author Diana Ensign, who was a UUI member at the time, although of course many people had a hand in making it a reality. It was funded by a grant from our Community Beacon Fund, which exists precisely to make these kinds of projects possible at UUI. So remember, if you have an idea, if you have a vision, if you have a thought, it would be cool if UUI had this or did this. There may be funding available for that cool idea. But I digress. The design of the Labyrinth was created by Jay Keith, who's here with us in the service today. So please wave hello to Jay Keith. Thank you for your good and enduring work. And the design was inspired by the famous Labyrinth at the Great Cathedral at Chartres. It was intentionally designed to be wide enough to be accessible to someone using a wheeled mobility device, which was both forward-thinking and noteworthy enough that it gets mentioned wherever our Labyrinth is listed. As you saw from the pictures today, creating the labyrinth was a big project that many members of the community shared in. And you all created something special together. And the labyrinth is part of the story of that year, 2004, the year we created the labyrinth. Of course, once built, the labyrinth needs to be maintained. The state of the labyrinth has waxed and waned a little over the years, entering some disrepair in the 2010s. More recently, UUI member Ian McIntosh took the initiative to have it revived and restored with bricks donated from all around the community. And I love that there are now little pieces of the community, little gifts, little tokens of goodwill winding around our campus in our labyrinth. That to me is special. And that is part of the story of this past church year, the 2019-2020 church year. So many stories of this past year, the year of our 40th anniversary celebration, the year that Souls and Spirits 3 came out, the biographical volume of members of our church, the year we restored our labyrinth, and the year we closed our campus due to the coronavirus. That was quite a journey we went on last year. What will this year's journey be like? Well, a little more information about labyrinths. It's important to distinguish between a labyrinth and a maze. We tend to not use these words very precisely, but they are different. For me, the word labyrinth is always associated with the story of the Minotaur, where the mythical Greek king Minos has this enormous, impossibly twisting maze built with like a horrible man-bull monster lurking at the center. And sacrificial victims would have been forced to enter the maze until they became hopelessly lost and eventually got eaten by the monster. It's the kind of horrible mythological story I couldn't get enough of as a sixth grader. But technically, what housed the Minotaur was not a labyrinth, but a maze. A maze has many different paths with many different decision points. In a maze, you can go left or right, and each decision sets you down a different path. Mazes are often designed to deliberately confuse. In a maze, paths branch in all different directions. They circle back, they dead end. You can get lost in a maze. And we know that in some ways, this year will present to us as a maze. We know that tragically in the larger community, in our city and state and nation, people have already been lost in this maze and more will be lost. And we know that in America, the maze is most dangerous for people with marginalized or targeted identities, for our Black and brown siblings, or for people with lesser economic means, right? This is all very real. Well, what about a labyrinth then? A labyrinth is not a maze. A labyrinth is defined by what is called a unicursal path, which is a word I just learned, and I hope I get to say a lot in life. It's such a good word. Unicursal, meaning one path. In a labyrinth, there is just one way in leading to the center and one way back out again. However much the path of the labyrinth may twist and turn, however much it may seem, we are wandering all over the place. We are always heading in the same direction, which is toward the center. It is impossible to get lost in a labyrinth. You are always on the right path. You spiral into the center and then spiral back out. In the Middle Ages, labyrinths became popular as a Christian spiritual practice, and many labyrinths were incorporated into the designs of cathedrals. The most famous is probably the Labyrinth at Chartres Cathedral in France, which inspired the design for UUI's labyrinth. And today, people from all faiths and no particular faith walk or otherwise traverse the labyrinth as a spiritual practice. The idea is to move through it slowly and silently in a mindful, meditative way. As you begin the journey inward toward the center, you unburden yourself of distractions, preparing for the experience of the holy in the center. There in the center, you pause, you rest, you sit as long as you like, connecting to whatever you hold sacred. You might meditate or pray. At the center of the labyrinth, you may receive a message or an illumination, some flash of insight or understanding. Then on the slow journey back out, you contemplate the meaning of the message, preparing to bring it back into your life when you re-enter the world. Now, our readings from today offer us two different perspectives on how to make a difficult journey. Chuang Tzu, the Taoist, counsels non-attachment. He wrote, "No drives, no compulsions, no needs, no attractions. Then your affairs are under control. You are a free man. Easy is right, he said. Begin right and you are easy. Continue easy and you are right. The right way to go easy is to forget the right way and forget that the going is easy. End quote. There's no right way in the labyrinth. There is just the way. The way defies reason, it defies efficiency, it loops, twists, turns. When you're traversing the labyrinth, at just the moment when the center is nearest within your sight, when it seems you have almost arrived at your destination, the path suddenly turns and throws you to the farthest outer limits of the course. It seems suddenly we are moving further and further from where we want to go, and yet every step of the way we are on the right way. To walk the labyrinth, then, is to let go of a need to control the process and to trust in the way, to trust in the path we have set out on. The labyrinth is a journey of trust and of letting go. The right way is to go easy. It is to forget the right way. So then, what path do we trust? As Unitarian Universalists, what is the way that we believe in, even when it seems to have thrown us far from the course we thought we were on? Now, Muhammad Iqbal, in our opening words, gives us a different vision of a journey. He wrote, "We look to the starry sky and love storms in our hearts. Whence comes that storm? The journey of love," he says, "is a very long journey, but sometimes with a sigh, you can cross that vast desert. Search and search again without losing hope. You may find sometime a treasure on your way." He concludes, "My heart and my eyes are all devoted to the vision." There's nothing here about detachment, about a lack of drive or desire. Instead, Iqbal offers a heart burning with desire, a heart and eyes so singularly devoted to a vision of spiritual treasure, the spiritual treasure of love, that he is able to cross a vast desert without losing hope. The labyrinth also offers a journey that ends in spiritual treasure, in the insight and connection with the divine that we hope to find at its center, or from a different theological perspective, with a reconnection to those psychological and spiritual forces that support life and growth. In this view, the labyrinth is not about letting go, but about perseverance. Despite the twists and turns, we continue onward toward the center, because what awaits there is a glimpse of that vision to which we have dedicated our hearts. The labyrinth is a journey of desire. And what is that desire, that distant, shimmering vision that draws us across the desert? William Stafford has a poem called "The Way It Is." "There's a thread you follow," he writes. "It goes among things that change, but it doesn't change. People wonder about what you are pursuing. You have to explain about the thread. But it is hard for others to see. While you hold it," he says, "you can't get lost. Tragedies happen, people get hurt or die, and you suffer and get old. Nothing you do can stop time's unfolding. You don't ever let go of the thread." End quote. My friends, welcome to the new church year. I have no idea what is in store for us this year. Who could know? Who could know? I am reasonably confident that this year will be one for remembering, that we will one day say, "Oh yeah, that year." Welcome to the journey that is ahead of us with all its twists and turns. Doubtless there will be surprises. There may be moments when we tire of the loops and long for the straight path. There may be moments when we can see the center, the sacred depths we are journeying toward, the uplift, the illumination, and then moments when suddenly we are far afield, seemingly moving away. What is the path we trust? What is the way we commit to as Unitarian Universalists? The way that we believe leads inevitably to center. Is it love, compassion, connection? What is the vision we are committed to that keeps us on the journey, that keeps us moving forward toward the center? however it twists and turns. Is it justice? Is it healing? Is it the beloved community? In the story of the Minotaur, the hero Theseus is given a thread to hold on to, which provides a way out, a thread which transforms the maze into a labyrinth. It's the thread of love. My friends, welcome to this year, which will one day be that year. Welcome to this labyrinth that we are journeying together. Know that we are journeying it together. Hold on to one another's hands and hold on to the thread. Blessed be, and amen.